I mean, my God.
You're getting
you guys
things wrong,
don't want to
Tara.
listen because you're hypocrites.
No, you're just getting the facts wrong time and
because
again.
you don't want to hear the truth about the fact that you are not willing to call
What did Donald Trump say about Somali's religion?
CNN became the scene of an absolute meltdown over Abdul El-Sayed. And it is pretty clear that both the right-wing and corporate Democrats are starting to get seriously nervous about him. In this video, we're going to break down some clips featuring Tara Setmayer going after a MAGA talking point. And we've also got another appearance from Captain Eyebrows that you definitely won't want to miss. I'll also be sharing my own thoughts on everything that happened. So let's break it all down together.
Tonight, Republicans are going all Kendrick Lamar on Democrats. To paraphrase, they're not like us. That blueprint is most evident in Michigan, where progressive candidate Abdul El-Sayed won the Democratic Senate primary. Republicans have attacked his religion, directly or indirectly, deployed ads using his full name, and some have suggested he is un-American and even a terrorist. President Trump joined the attacks today in the Oval Office. Despite not referencing El-Sayed by name, he did add a new label.
Well, the one thing is we have jihadists being elected all over the place. We have this, whether it's communism, jihadism. It's a lot of friend of mine called up. He said, really, you should use the word jihadist because that's what's happening. And when you look at the radicalism and the craziness of the candidates and the stupidity of what they're suggesting, people don't want to have radical lunatics involved in running our country, and that's what we have.
This weekend, President Trump posted an image online describing two very different Americas, one of Trump and his wife Melania, the other of El-Sayed and his wife. El-Sayed responded to this on Sunday.
What was your response when you saw that?
Yeah, he's right. One in which your overlords are two people who don't like each other but joint in the interest of making billions of dollars off of you, or two people who genuinely love each other, enjoyed some pancakes together, want to come together to build the kind of America where they can raise a family and know that that family is going to have the good things. So yes, you've got two different visions of America. Donald Trump's vision is the one you're living in right now. Can you afford your gas? Can you afford your groceries? Do you believe, when you look your kids in the eye, that they're going to have a better future than you did?
All right, so that was El-Sayed's response. Now, if what the president was saying was too subtle for you, Nancy Mace, Republican member of Congress from South Carolina, tweeted over the weekend, quote, "Every single Muslim holding public office in America is a Trojan horse and a threat to both national security and our republic. We refuse to be silent." You're shaking your head back and forth.
That's ridiculous. Nancy Mace is irrelevant. She's on her way out of Congress while the Republican Party is purging its people who make anti-Muslim comments.
Whether it's the president?
Oh, well, he's 100% right about the fact that Abdul El-Sayed is a jihadist sympathizer, but I'll get to that. Give me 1 second. Okay, Nancy Mace is making gross comments about Muslims. It's terrible. It has no place in the Republican Party. Andy Ogles was just primaried and defeated, who made similar gross comments about Muslims over the years. Thomas Massie, who made gross comments about Jews in Israel, was just excised from the GOP. Meanwhile, what do you have in the Democratic Party? You do have people like Abdul El-Sayed, who, when he was asked about Islamist terror massacre that nearly unfolded in my hometown at a synagogue just down the street from where I grew up, his response was to tell his campaign that it was a risk for him to offer any condemnation whatsoever, and that it was really just the result of hurt people who hurt people, because Israel had done something in the Middle East, thousands of miles away, to this guy's family or something. That is absurd. That is offensive. And I can tell you personally that I know hundreds of Democrats in the Metro Detroit area who have never voted for a Republican in their life who will this November, because Abdul El-Sayed is an Islamist sympathetic, communist adjacent, hardline extremist radical. And there's no place for him in American public life. And a lot of Democrats believe so as well. A lot of Haley Stevens voters believe so as well.
Words like adjacent and sympathizer are doing a lot of work there to try to smear a candidate with beliefs that he does not actually hold.
I am smearing a candidate 100%.
The point here is that, for example, President Trump describing him as a jihadist. There is nothing in his record that suggests he is a jihadist.
Excuse me, when the Iranian Supreme Leader was killed by the American military in a successful operation, Abdul El-Sayed...
An obvious dog whistle to religious prejudice.
No, it's a prejudice toward Islamism.
To bigots who don't want to elect a Muslim or an Arab.
Excuse me, you're not contending with the reality that he is out there defending the actions of religious extremists who carry out terrorism in his name. I just got done condemning stupid Republicans who are making stupid comments about Muslims. My boss is Muslim. I work at a leading public policy think tank in the American right. I am doing Donald Trump now. Donald Trump gets it right when he calls Abdul El-Sayed someone who is sympathetic to jihadists.
That was unconstitutional.
We are not talking about the Muslim ban. That was in 2017.
You got very animated. You're very upset.
Trump didn't call him someone who was sympathetic to jihadists. Trump directly called him a jihadist. And there's a very important difference between those two statements.
I sure am. But you are not that upset when Donald Trump does it. I'm not understanding.
Well, you'll have to forgive me because Donald Trump didn't try to ram an explosive-laden truck into a synagogue with 140 preschoolers in it in my hometown. That was the guy who Abdul El-Sayed was accusing.
One at a time.
But where is that smoke for Donald Trump?
I have it. I'll provide it. I'll give it to you.
You just did not. When he instituted a Muslim ban unconstitutionally.
That was in 2017. It's not the topic we're talking about.
It was one of the first things he did, but he still did it. Okay.
It wasn't a religious ban.
Yes,
it was. No, it wasn't.
Guys. We're going to do one at a time, else we're going to go to break here. So, Tara, you first.
Thank you. The Muslim ban, the whole countries, the attacks on Somalis and their religion, and all the Ilhan Omar. You can
when did Trump attack Somali's religion?
Go ahead, Tara, finish.
I mean, my God.
You're getting
you guys
things wrong,
don't want to
Tara.
listen because you're hypocrites.
No, you're just getting the
facts
facts wrong time and
because
again.
you don't want to hear the truth about the fact that you are not willing to call
What did Donald Trump say about Somali's religion? What did Donald Trump say about Somali's religion?
10 seconds and we'll go around the table. Jesse, go ahead.
About him going after Somalis and Muslims.
I yield my time back to Tara to ask what Donald Trump said about Somali's religion.
Shutting up so I can actually get a sentence out. Like, I'm not going to give you credit for just being quiet so I can finish. Go ahead. We'll go on.
All right.
So the dude arguing with Tara Setmayer is named Jesse Arm. I love that Tara Setmayer pushes back here. But she makes a mistake that people on these shows make all the time, and I've pointed this out many times in my videos. She talks about them being hypocrites, and Tara Setmayer is absolutely right that MAGA is full of hypocrisy. They constantly say, yeah, but what about Biden? Whenever Trump does something similar, and then they will excuse Trump while immediately condemning Biden or whoever the Democrat happens to be. But hypocrisy doesn't really work on MAGA because they don't care about being hypocrites, and that accusation means absolutely nothing to them. All they care about is winning, making sure their guy wins, and making sure the Democrat or whoever is on the left loses. That's it. Hypocrisy has no place in the MAGA mindset because winning is the only thing that matters to them. And Jesse Arm here is claiming or suggesting, well, Donald Trump didn't say anything about Somali's religion. Come on. They have attacked Somali over and over and over again, and Donald Trump and MAGA have been doing this constantly. It doesn't have to be directly about religion because the entire point is about creating an outsider and turning that person into someone people are supposed to fear or hate. That's what MAGA does over and over again. Donald Trump and these MAGA goons like Jesse Arm here rely on that kind of division. And we're going to get into Captain Eyebrows, Jason Rants, in just a minute. These people have no policies that actually improve the lives of the American people, and they have very little to offer beyond attacking their political opponents. Donald Trump is just there to loot the country, and because they need to win elections, they have to come up with labels like, oh, Abdul El-Sayed, he's an Islamist and a communist. Notice how they throw these two completely different things together, as if they somehow belong in the same category. Let's continue.
Okay.
Since you can't seem to answer.
I want to look at it politically that Abdul does have to do some work with the Jewish voters that are in Michigan. We know that he has to do work with rural working class voters. We know that he has to do work with black voters. I think he's going to do that work. I hope Mallory McMurrow, who has talked about the anti-Semitism that her husband faced, who has talked about how the Temple Israel attack had such an impact on her, is going to be able to help facilitate those conversations. I hope he's able to come to some middle about this. But I also want to point out his opponent, Mike Rogers, is running a lot of ads on fear, the idea that people will be scared of Abdul. And I think people are more tired than they are scared right now. I mean, this really is the environment for a Democrat, even a Democrat that I didn't support in the primary, that I think might not be as competitive as a Haley Stevens, I think could really ride a wave that is a lot of the economic angst that people are feeling.
But the fear is coming from the Jewish community in that state, who understand what it is he stands for and understand and have seen over and over and over again him defending, using as a surrogate, Hassan Piker. Like, they're aware of that. And even after all the conversations came forward, even after they aired all these clips about the awful things that Hassan Piker has said, not even years ago, but recently, and he will not condemn any of that.
I will say, I do think he needs to break his relationship with Hassan, because every day that he spends having to talk about Hassan's comments is another day he's not spending actually running his
relationship. He should also have to be held to account for choosing to associate with him.
I want to say just one thing, because you brought up the Jewish community in Michigan, as did you. Tim Scott is not a member of the Jewish community in Michigan, who is repeatedly, and Democrat, Republican Senate ads, repeatedly using Abdul El-Sayed's full name, Abdul Rahman, et cetera, et cetera. And let's just how Tim Scott defended using the full name there.
Abdul Rahman Mohammed El-Sayed, the most radical Senate candidate in America.
Pretty dangerous.
You're using
using his full name in these attack ads, which has gotten some attention. Abdul Rahman Mohammed El-Sayed. He goes by Abdul El-Sayed. Are you trying to say, hint, hint to voters, he's Muslim?
Not at all. What we're saying what we're only saying to voters is a simple thing. He says he's the most dangerous candidate you can find. He's right. We should trust his.
I like how this idiot Tim Scott just turns directly to the camera and says these words.
Words, not ours.
But why not just use his name, Abdul El-Sayed, which he goes by?
Well, listen, I go by Timothy Eugene, and so I get called that all the time. Here's what I know with that question. It's about what he stands for.
I have never heard of Tim Scott referred to as Timothy Eugene in a campaign ad.
I mean, look, I don't know how he says that with a straight face, honestly. The idea that using Tim Scott's full name unabbreviated is equivalent to using Abdul El-Sayed's full name is just ludicrous. It is obviously, in El-Sayed's case, an appeal to anti-Muslim, anti-Arab sentiment. And I just wanted to pick up on something. I just want to pick up on something Yamassi said there, because she rightly talked about the fact that El-Sayed has some work to do. Yeah. Had Haley Stevens won that primary, she would also have had work to do, particularly with Arab Americans in a state that has the highest per capita population of Arab Americans in the country, who believe that the Biden administration disgraced itself on Gaza.
She would have way less work to do because she'd have all the moderates voting for her.
Purported concerns for human rights, all the while shoveling weapons to Mr. Netanyahu with which to kill 70,000.
You guys are like very concerned.
It always goes back to the Jews, like every single time, which is a perfect example of like some of what you're talking about, like the coded language and whatnot. El-Sayed has brought up AIPAC and brings it up absolutely every single time he can, because he wants to talk about the Jews and the people that you're talking about. That Haley Stevens,
because they support the most right-wing government in Israel's history.
Oh my God!
They're Jews.
Dude, chill. We understand that Ireland cares a lot about Palestine, but
because we don't like
here, all right? In Michigan, most people don't actually give a shit.
We're going to do this. 10 seconds around the table.
People in Michigan are actually scared of Abdul El-Sayed, not because of Israel or whatever. No one cares about Israel. He's going to rip away Obamacare. He's going to rip away private health insurance from the 66% of Americans who have it. They ran a campaign where Rashida Tlaib was attacking Haley Stevens for collecting support from General Mills and General Motors. Michiganders don't like the sound of that. Anti-business politics.
To the contrary, a lot of these claims are made to distract from what Al-Sayed is standing for on an economic basis. Can I finish, please? He stands for Medicare for All, which has polled well for years.
Which would eliminate private health insurance.
Just let him talk, and then we're going over here. So.
He stands for the reduction of money in politics, which people of all kinds of ideology agree with. And those kinds of appeals to improve people's economic lives is why he won the primary.
Last word on
that? Yeah, he won the primary by the skin of his teeth, despite the fact that he was supposed to lead by about 10 to 13 points, depending on the poll, because people realized what he stood for, and they rejected it, which is precisely why Democrats are saying privately, they are not going to do this on TV, that he's going to lose, which makes it even more difficult for the Democrats to take back the Senate. In fact, now Republicans might even pick up a seat.
All right, we have much more to discuss.
So Niall Stanage makes some great points there at the end about criticism from the left of the Biden administration over Israel. And then Jesse Arm starts talking over him. These are the same people who are constantly saying, yeah, but what about Biden? Yeah, but what about Biden? But suddenly, when the conversation turns to Israel, they're basically defending Biden. And you also have Jesse Arm, they're claiming that Abdul El-Sayed would get rid of Obamacare. I wish Tara Setmayer, the host, John Berman, who was filling in for Abby Phillip, had stopped him right there and said, okay, let's pause for a second. You're worried about the possibility of Obamacare going away. So are you defending Obamacare now? Because that's the kind of contradiction they never want to address. They're nothing but propagandists, and everything they say is propaganda. They don't seem to have policies that are actually designed to benefit ordinary Americans in any meaningful way. Donald Trump has basically made it clear himself that the MAGA view of government is about funding war, and that's it. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, child care, and anything else that could actually make life easier for regular people who aren't billionaires, MAGA seems to be against. They exist to promote war, and that's what they have become, the war party. So they're going to do whatever they can to otherize Abdul El-Sayed and make him seem like some kind of dangerous outsider.